Good afternoon, Scouts of our Troop 282. Today we are going to give you a little example of what you missed out on when we weren't able to go to summer camp this year. Most of you who have been to summer camp have had the wonderful experience of shooting rifles. We have black powder rifles, and we also have 22s to shoot when we're at camp. Great experiences. Shooting rifles is not only a collegiate sport, it's also something that's used in the Olympics. It's an Olympic game. And I'm here today to just give you a little exposure to the rifling or rifle merit badge. So as I mentioned in our Scoutlander message that everyone should have received, I wanted you to make a copy of the merit badge and follow through and take notes as we go tonight. I'm going to be following the exact same thing that you have in front of you, and you can make notes. This is not going to, I'm not going to be able to, is what I should say, I'm not going to be able to give you the merit badge. I am not qualified by BSA standards to give you the merit badge. But I want to be able to teach you a little bit about it and make you a little more aware of the rifle merit badge. So next year, when we go to camp, you'll be prepared. You might be experienced. You might actually enjoy some of this stuff at camp. My experiences, believe it or not, when I was about 18, I was teaching riflery during a 6-week summer camp for boys and girls. So we had 3 sessions, 2 weeks each. We'd start the first session using air rifles. Second week, we'd go right into the 22s. So I'm just going to give you some of my own experiences, and I'm going to reiterate again, I am not qualified through the BSA standards, but I still want you guys to see a little bit about what you might have experienced when you if you had gone to summer camp this year. So I'm going to follow the same thing you are regarding the rifle shooting merit badge. I'll get some of the preliminary stuff out of the way first. Safety is paramount. That's one of the reasons I'm not qualified by BSA standards. I've not gone through the required NRA and BSA rifle shooting instructor courses. But let me teach you what I practice. Safety is paramount. I have in front of me several rifles, all of which are unloaded. I verified that they are unloaded. And when I say I verified, not only do I look at them and realize that they're unloaded before I'm done at the shooting range, I then verify again before I bring them in the house that they are unloaded. And then if I'm going to clean them, I'll verify again that it's unloaded. Then before I put it away, I'll make sure it's unloaded. The rule at our house is we have no loaded rifles, no loaded weapons in our house. Those are some real basic rules. Whenever someone's out with me, if it's a hunting trip or if we're out target shooting, we have no loaded weapons in the vehicle, not even in the back of the truck. Once we take them out of the truck to go do whatever shooting we're doing, if we're out hunting quail or we're out hunting dove, that's the time that you would actually load the weapon. So at any time during transportation, storage, cleaning, bringing them in the house, locking them up in the gun safe, we never have a loaded weapon in the house, period. Okay, back with you. So you've heard me say over and over and over, make sure the gun is unloaded. Even though we know it's unloaded, we think it's unloaded, we're assuming it's unloaded, I still want you to treat it like as if it were a loaded weapon. Which means you never point the business end of this rifle, or the muzzle, in any direction other than in a safe direction, be it downrange, be it at the ground, knowing or thinking that it possibly is loaded until you have actually confirmed it. When I say you, I mean you. You can't take the rifle from one of your buddies and have him say, don't worry, it's unloaded. Never, never, ever assume that. It's always up to you to verify that it's unloaded. And when you are verifying that it's unloaded, the muzzle, the gun is always pointed in a safe direction. So, when I say treat it like it's loaded, I want to give you an example. This is Sam's 22. When I pick it up, I'm not pointing it at anybody. It's pointed downrange. It's pointed towards the ground. Just in case, what if the possibilities are that what if it's loaded. So I'm going to verify myself that it's unloaded. We're going to talk more about it, but this is the bolt. The bolt comes back. I look down in here and I can actually see light through the barrel. That tells me there is not a shell, there's not a casing, there's not a bullet in here anywhere, okay? What's a bullet look like? In that particular rifle, this is a 22, okay? 22 means it's a 22 caliber bullet. 22 caliber is like a decimal of inches. So it's actually 0.22 inches wide. So they call it 22 caliber. If it was a great big 1-inch bullet, then it might be a 1-inch caliber, but this is a 0.22. Okay, so it's 0.22 caliber. So it's a 22 caliber. So again, you always treat it like it is loaded. I pick it up, I open it, I verify. No ifs, ands, or buts. Before I do anything, before I try to clean it, before I look at it, before I hand it to you, I always make sure it's empty. If I hand it to you, your job is now to make sure it is unloaded. Okay? Alright. So, just to reiterate, we're following the rifle shooting merit badge. Section 1, do the following. Explain why BB and pellet air guns must always be treated with the same respect as firearms. Boys and girls, these are not toys. It's a weapon. It can destroy whatever you're pointing it at. That's serious. You don't treat BB guns any different than these rifles. You don't treat these rifles any different than a BB gun or a pellet gun. Safety is paramount. If you're at the range and you're not abiding by those rules, you will be asked to leave. That's not my rule. That's standard gun range, shooting range policies. Okay? So, air rifle, pistol, BB gun, pellet gun, 22, it doesn't matter. You treat them all the same. Always point them in a safe direction. They're not loaded in the house. Now, if someone were to come over to Sam's house, my son, and they say, hey Sam, I heard your dad's got a lot of cool guns. Can we go look at them? Very simple answer.
No, you may not look at them.
These are not on display. These are not to be messed with. These are to be used for competition. They're being used for hunting. If one of Sam's friends wants to look at these, then he will make sure, since he knows the rules of the house, that they stay locked up and they don't come out and they don't get looked at, no one else touches them until the owner of the gun, the owner of the rifle is here, which would be in this case, me. Now I mentioned already, this is Sam's rifle. Okay, this was given to him a while back, it's a 22. If someone were to ask for him, he knows the rules also. You don't take him out just to play. You don't take him out just to show off. So, no, the answer is no, we're not just going to come over here to take a look at him. We will plan it, and then we can demonstrate sort of what I'm doing today for you, okay? Now, again, I need you guys to all take notes on those pieces of paper regarding the rifle shooting methods. These are the notes you're going to need to refer to when you do meet up with a merit badge counselor for rifle shooting, and you do actually start taking some more classes. Safety is paramount. Let me show you some safety equipment that has to be used at all times. The most basic is, how do we transport our rifle from our house, down the street, into the car, etc. You would generally use a gun case. All right? This shows that things are locked up, are secured, and yes, they can have locks on them. They can be latched. They can be transported. And again, you're walking always with an empty rifle. And you'd be walking like this, and the muzzle again is pointed down. Because you're retrieving every one like it's loaded. Other important stuff is ear protection. Okay? Now most all of you guys know you have to speak clearly and in my face when you're talking to me. But could you imagine how deaf I would be if I wasn't wearing these all the time when I shoot? So definitely you need a pair of some ear protection. It might be something as simple as earplugs. These earplugs, again, you kind of squeeze them up, stick them in your ear. That is adequate ear protection for whenever you're using 22s, shooting 22s, etc. At your age right now, you need to do all you can to protect your ears, your eyes, etc., because they're still growing. The nerves are still maturing. So you need to really protect your hearing. Always, if you're doing any firearm sports, always have ear protection. So these are actually safety glasses. If you don't have safety glasses, then you definitely need to have some, if your normal eyeglasses are not safety glasses, then you need to put safety glasses over your prescription lenses. If you don't need prescription lenses, then you need to have a good, rugged pair of safety goggles. The same kind of safety goggles you might use in woodshop class at school. The same kind of cool looking safety glasses Sam wears, except they look more cool on him. All right, so you always need glasses when you're out at the range shooting. A typical command that you hear on the shooting range is eyes and ears. When the instructor on the shooting range says eyes and ears, it means he's getting ready to go live, where you're actually going to start shooting. So everyone needs to put eye protection on and put the hearing protection on, and then he's going to make sure that the range is clear visually before he says commence firing. So those are some safety things. Also, I always carry this, usually on my belt, right like this. This is a first aid kit. This is a first aid kit. Why? Because I'm prepared. You never know. So I want to have a first aid kit with me. And in my first aid kit, for this type of activity, I always have a tourniquet. Now most Boy Scouts don't know how to use a tourniquet, but when you move into a specialty vocation like this, You learn how to use a tourniquet for certain situations. I have a tourniquet with this. I have a tourniquet in my vehicle at all times, and I also have a tourniquet on my chainsaw when I'm using my chainsaw, just to stop the bleeding of a major vein. So, again, safety is paramount. Inside of here, I also have targets I like to shoot at, sunscreen, because we're probably out in the desert, and some cleaning supplies. This is actually something to help clean the gun. This also helps clean the gun. This helps set up targets. Okay, we have gun cleaner. We have a little bottle of oil for lubrication. I want to give you guys some real basic examples of gun laws in the state of Arizona. Very, very basic. You cannot own a rifle until you're 18 years old. Simple as that. You are allowed to carry one for hunting. You're certainly allowed to use one at the range under the supervision of an instructor, of an adult, etc. So it's certainly feasible to have a rifle, but remember, you do have to be the right age. Obviously, you use these rifles for what we're explaining. You're using them for target practice. You're using them for competition on targets. You're using them perhaps for hunting, which means you have to have a hunting license. You also, as a youth, before you go hunting, you have to take a hunting class sponsored by the NRA, National Riflemen's Association. Those are all important things to do. You can find out more information about that when you get serious. But other things relating to the law. If we are out in the desert, we're not allowed to go shoot barrel cactus and see how much water can blow out of it. You can't go shoot the arms off of a saguaro cactus. No, sir. They're destroying public property. And those are criminal laws. Those are criminal actions, I should say. So you only shoot, you only aim at what you intend to destroy. So when I say you don't point at this unless you want to destroy something, I have destroyed several bottles, old bottles of water.
Woo! Woo!
I've destroyed several old tin cans. I've destroyed several pieces of paper, targets. I've destroyed several bricks, blocks that I've set up in the desert. I've destroyed a few TVs out in the desert. I have demolished boxes and 2-liter bottles of soda and watermelons and pumpkins, etc. When I'm licensed and actually hunting, then I'm actually hunting for food for the dinner table. So that's a whole nother thing, meaning target shooting is one thing, hunting is another, and then of course, collegiate type hunting sports where you're looking for specific scores all the time. So hunting, take it very seriously, but even when you're hunting, if you're out there to hunt javelina, you have a permit for javelina. You're trained and you know how to hunt javelina and you know how to harvest javelina. You got to take that responsibility very, very seriously, and you have to have a rifle the appropriate size to take game, be it deer, javelina, etc. But you don't go shooting squirrels. You don't shoot lizards. You don't go shoot a turtle sticking his head up out of the water. Just because. There's no sport in it, guys.
Get him again. You got a water bottle up there. Cock it. Oh. Nice. Nice one. Again. Look at that. Ready. I heard that. You're getting it.
Oh, it fell.
It's just gonna be a harder shot now. You can hit it. You got it. Okay, try for your battery. You got it. How about the tire? Yep, you went right through it. Yeah, baby. God, they already plowed this guy down. He's not getting up again. He definitely leaked out.
All right, still following the rifle merit badge. I'm on option A, letter A. Okay, basically in option A is what I want to finish up this subject with. Letter A of option A, we identify the three main parts of a rifle and tell how they function. All right, they said the three major parts. I learned it when I was your age at a NRA sponsored hunting class, and they taught us BASS, which spells bass. B stands for barrel. A, action. S, stock. S, sight. So we have the barrel, action, stock, sight. So what's a barrel? This is the barrel of the rifle. This is what the bullet goes through before leaving this side of the barrel, which is called the muzzle. So this is the barrel. Let me show you another barrel. This is the barrel of a shotgun. Can you see down that barrel by chance? So this is the barrel of a shotgun. And I will show you what a barrel looks like removed from a rifle. This is a pretty new one I've just recently purchased. And again, you can actually look down the barrel. And this is a barrel. Now, the next thing I said is action. Okay, so I've explained what the barrel is. Now we have action. What is the action? Okay, the action part of these rifles is basically this guy. I've actually removed it from one of our rifles. Okay, obviously we recognize the trigger and the safety assembly. So this is the action of this rifle. This is an action that actually came out of this rifle, which will go back together sooner than later. Okay, so this is one type of action. This is another action. This is called lever action. Okay, I wonder why they call it lever action. What is another action? This is an action here too. This is called a pump action. All right. This is a shotgun, and you actually put the shotgun shells in here. And again, I'm viewing, making sure it's empty, and now the action is closed. So we've discussed lever action, pump action. I'll leave it open, put it in a safe spot, and now we'll go back to Sam's rifle which is bolt action. This is the bolt. I verify it's empty. This is the bolt. I go like that. Then when it's ready to shoot, I go do the appropriate thing. After it shoots, I go like this and take the spent shell out. Put a new one in. Go again. This is a single shot. You put one in, squeeze the trigger, it goes. Take it out, put another one in, and it goes. This is an extremely, extremely accurate Winchester. Bolt actions. Here is another bolt action. This is typically considered something like a deer rifle. And again, very, very accurate. And then, again, bolt action. A little bit higher caliber, larger gun, more bang for the buck. So it's a little bit bigger action. And another bolt will go in there, and you close it, and then you're ready to shoot again. And of course, this does also have safeties. So again, bolt action. And this, we have two more to discuss. There are other actions. This is called a breakaway. Again, another shotgun. And when I say breakaway, this is its normal position. You shoot it. You need to get the shell out. You go like that. The shell pops out. You put a new one in. You close it. And then you take aim. And we go from there. About lever actions, bolt actions, pump actions, breakaway. This guy here is a semi-automatic. The semi-automatic uses what we call a recharge handle. So if you have a recharge handle, you close it, and then when the bullet shoots, it automatically spits the spent shell out. And all you do then is you don't have a bolt to unlock and open. You don't have a lever to go back and forth. You just squeeze the trigger, kabang, 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 until you're out of bullets. Extremely fun to shoot. Okay? So, those are the different actions. We've talked about barrel. In this case here, the barrel is very short. In the case of the deer rifle, the barrel is probably 24 inches long. Very long, more accurate, so it can shoot further distance. So we talked about barrels. What comes next? Barrel action, stock. Okay, this is another main part of the rifle. This is the stock. Right there, you're looking at it. Everything's removed from here, and this is the stock. Whenever you pick up a rifle, you always want to carry it by the stock. You don't want to put your greasy fingers all over the barrel, okay? You want to use the hand grips. You want to use the stock. So this is a stock. This stock here, you have the butt and you have the forearm grip, okay? So it's not as complete like this. But again, it's still considered the stock. And again, on the deer rifle, a lot more stock is here. All right, barrel, action, stock, and then what's the last S? You're right, sight. Okay, the sighting of the gun is extremely critical. You have a front sight and a back sight. So let me show you the front sight and the back sight. This is the rear sight. This is the front sight. You're not even ready to shoot. You're not even ready to put your finger on the trigger until your eyeball is looking down at the front sight. And then when your eyeball is on the front sight, you got to move the rifle a little bit until this little V shape right here gets right in the center of that front post. When that V is lined up with this post and that's pointed at what you are trying to shoot, be it a paper plate, a jug of water, jackrabbit, what have you. Whatever you're supposed to be shooting at, now's the time you're getting ready to shoot. But that's the importance of the sight. We have different kinds of sights. This is called an open sight. Okay, then we have something like a peep sight right here, where, again, we have this V in the back, but in the front, I'll hold it still, and you can notice the front here is more rounded. Okay, some of you have also seen, in the movies probably, a scope. What's the purpose of the scope? Well, if you're trying to shoot dinner, and the dinner is 200 or 300 yards away, you might need some extra strength for your eyeballs to verify and identify that that's the proper game that you're supposed to be taking. You want to make sure that it's, if you're supposed to be shooting elk, that it's an elk you see, not a buffalo. That it's an elk you're ready to take down, and it's the bull elk, not a cow elk. Or, worse yet, you want to make sure it's not the farmer's cow that you're about ready to shoot. So if you cannot identify what you're shooting, then your finger is nowhere near the trigger and you're not ready to shoot. Anyway, these scopes assist in being able to see a long distance off, and you can look through those scopes and you can actually see a crosshair. It's called the crosshair. And you put that crosshair where you want to shoot and you go from there. Version is something like this, where they're using optics. Now this one here, you can tell by my notes, this particular small rifle is actually sighted in at 25 yards. That's what my little note is. So with the optics, when you look through this here, where that dot is where the bullet's going to hit when it's at 25 yards. If I look at my target and it's more than 25 yards away, I might lift the muzzle of the gun just a tiny bit, because once the bullet leaves this barrel, it starts to lose height. It starts to drop. That's gravity, and you can thank Mr. Newton for that. So once the bullet leaves, it starts to drop. So therefore I know at 25 yards, I'll be very accurate. If I have to shoot 50 yards, I'm going to come just a little bit higher to make sure it goes to where I want it to hit. Okay, barrel action stock sight. That's a quick explanation to the 4 major parts of the gun. Back with you guys. Again, I want you all to take notes. I'm just following the same exact scenario in the rifle shooting merit badge workbook. So we've already talked about option A and B. The B, we've already talked about the fundamental rules for safe gun handling. Always treat it like it's loaded. Eye protection, ear protection. You never point that muzzle any direction other than to what your target is or what you want to destroy. And I'm going to reiterate again, your booger hook. Don't put your booger hook anywhere near that trigger, okay? Not until you're absolutely ready to fire. So your finger always stays extended and away from this trigger at all times until everything is set properly, meaning we've identified the target, we're pointing it, and we're aiming it with a sight. We know that where it's at is what we are supposed to destroy and only then do I consider taking the safety off, which I'll get into, and then I put my finger into the trigger guard. This is a guard, and from the guard into the trigger section, but only when it's absolutely ready. So again, most fundamental, never put your finger near the trigger until you're ready to do some action. Always treat it like it's loaded. Eye protection, ear protection, and again, this never gets pointed into a direction other than what you're intending to destroy. Okay, so we talked about A and B. C, a couple different cartridges I want to show you. Okay, we've already talked about the 22s. This is what we call a 22, right? Got it? The 22, which was this rifle right here, when it shoots this quite formidable bullet, the pin on the inside will actually hit the edge of this shell, and when it strikes that shell, the edge of the shell, it starts a little bit of a burn action, and then the gunpowder on the inside explodes and pushes this bullet out this direction. So it starts off looking like this. The gunpowder goes off. It shoots that bullet downrange about a mile, and then this is all that's left. It's empty. So that would be one. Here's another one, slightly larger. This is now 30 caliber. So it's 0.3 inches in diameter. This is 0.22 inches in diameter. This one here has a little bit more gunpowder on it, as you can tell. Also, you notice that this has a little centerpiece. That centerpiece is called a primer. This one didn't have a primer. This shoots from the rim. This shoots the primer. So same thing. When the firing pin hits the primer, it starts the burn, and then the gunpowder shoots off, expands, explodes, and this bullet goes to wherever you're pointing. The other shells I want to talk about is what we call shotgun shells. So here's a shotgun shell. You can kind of hear it. It actually has gunpowder down here, and then a whole bunch of BBs out here. Why do you think we have the BBs? Because these are used to generally shoot dove, quail, ducks, maybe rabbits that are moving real fast. So when it shoots, it doesn't just shoot one bullet at its target. It shoots a spray of very small lead, or I should say steel BBs, very small BBs. So if you're trying to shoot a bird that's flying through the air, you may hit him with 4 or 5 BBs. You might hit him with 30 BBs, and that'll definitely make the bird drop. Now you've got dinner for the table that night. So we have bullets and we have shotgun shells. We're back with you, following the same rifle shooting merit badge guidelines. We are now on letter E, option A, letter E. It says, identify and demonstrate the 5 fundamentals of shooting and rifle safety. So I know you've been hearing me say this a few times tonight, so I'm going to reiterate some of this. 5 fundamentals. 1 is aiming. Obviously aiming. Identifying what you're going to shoot. So aiming. And then you have breath control. So in the Olympics, you'll see people breathing really, really hard, and all of a sudden they have to almost stop their heart, slow down, and breathe real carefully as they start to squeeze the bullet. Otherwise, your heart's going fast, and the rifle's going up and down like this, and you'll never be able to get a good shot in. So breath control is essential. Movement control. So if I'm taking aim like this, I'm using my arm as control to keep the rifle from moving. if I'm holding it like this and it's going like this, you're not ready to take a shot. You need to find other pad, other methods, or maybe even a rifle that's more your size, because if it's too heavy to hold, it's not safe. We can't have you shooting. So, movement control, trigger control. Okay, you heard me call the booger hook. Right, when we do the booger hook, you always keep it away from the trigger. That's the number one safety, is not putting this anywhere near that trigger. Generally speaking, the gun will not fire if you don't put your finger on the trigger. So that's an extremely important safety rule right there. Keep your finger off the trigger. But trigger control. Sam, why don't you show them what we're talking about, trigger control, how you need to squeeze the trigger.
All right, well. It can be inaccurate. It can be a lot more inaccurate when you go to squeeze the trigger extremely quick, or if you want a more accurate shot, you can slowly squeeze down on it, and then slowly squeeze down on it.
Okay. And if you notice, Sam doesn't have an entire finger in here. We only need the fingertip, is all we need. Squeeze it in. Okay, so that is trigger control. And then the last step for me would be follow through. You squeezed off that trigger. Now the follow through, which would be, go ahead, Sam, pull the bolt back, send that spent charge out. You follow through, you put another new one in, you close it, you put the safety on, you bring it back up to your target again. That would be the follow through that I'm talking about. So go ahead, Sam, why don't you take it from here and show us how one would shoot at the range.
All right, well, I already cocked it back, but this is the safety. This would be off right here, and then that's how you would put the safety on so it shouldn't fire. See how it's not firing? And if it were off, that's when you would go back and then slowly squeeze down on it, and there it goes.
There it goes, pretend.
Yep.
Now he's putting that muzzle in a safe direction at basically the base of the block wall. So we're always want to treat it like it's loaded. So even though we're only demonstrating, we're still treating it like it's loaded at all times. All right, you want to show them with the other rifle?
Yeah.
The deer rifle?
All right, moving on to this bigger rifle right here. This is what you'd be using to hunt with. You're going to want to use your elbow, of course, to support it. And if you would be hunting right here, this is the size, roughly as an example. If you were hunting, you would have one of these loaded in, right, with the safety on. And then if you were taking aim to the animal that you would want to hunt, that's when you would take the time to turn the safety off and take your shot.
Good. Okay, that's pretty much the conclusion for what we're demonstrating at our classroom experiences. The next place we will be at the actual shooting range. The requirements that they call for takes days, usually days of practice to be able to get really accurate. So what they call for is to be able to shoot a .22 and take 3 shots with that .22. After you're done taking those 3 shots with the .22, you should be able to cover all 3 of those bullet holes in the paper with a quarter. Okay? So it takes practice to do that. So we're going to do that at the shooting range when we come back. So just a quick scenario. Obviously we have shotgun. Our lever action, this is a 30-30. Lever action, there's as far as taking deer, this is probably the most popular gun that's killed more deer than anything else in North America. It's, safe because it's action built one. You're a good old American .6, we call it. Scope, let's see, way down range. We're not going to be shooting this or these little ones at the shooting range. We're only going to shoot the 22 because that's what's expected of us. So we will be practicing a little bit at the shooting range, and then we'll come back and we'll actually see how close we can do at the shooting range. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed the little tutorial, and we'll see you at the range.